Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to GEEXX Reads. I'd like to talk about the book Firedrake by Richard A. Knaak. I think I pronounced that right, an image of which you will see here. The basic plot outline is that the general realms of this world are ruled by dragons. There are roughly a dozen dragon kings, each ruling their own domain. They're generally referred to by their color. There was gold, iron, brown, crystal, blue, green, whatever, ice. They're referred to by their respective colors. Each one rules a domain that, kind of suits their personalities. It is very Dungeons and Dragon-esque, although not, there's some similarities. But all the dragons are evil, for the most part, of various degrees. There is some history to this world. There was a time, decades ago, where groups of warlocks who called themselves dragon masters tried to overthrow and rule overthrow the dragon's rule. They were partially successful until they were beaten back and overthrown by the dragons themselves. And the main character of the film is a young man named Cabe. Turns out he is the grandson of the most powerful of the warlocks of the Dragon Masters, who successfully killed the purple dragon, although it cost him his own life. Cabe Bedlam has been somewhat in hiding this time, or hidden perhaps. He has no idea who he is, so he's basically been hidden away without his knowledge that he's the grandson of the great Nathan Bedlam. When the dragons find out about him, things are set in motion. There are various, not prophecies per se, but things that are expected to happen. And we were introduced to various characters. There was another enchantress, Gwen, the Lady of Amber. We were introduced to. There is the Dark Horse. There is a character who goes by various names, but is generally referred to as Shade, who is another powerful warlock. There is Azran, another evil warlock. And we make the character called the Griffin, who is like a human lion eagle hybrid kind of thing. So we're introduced to all these characters. The dragons are nervous about the existence of Cabe Bedlam. They want him dead. The Griffin took over the city that was once ruled by the purple dragon, who was killed by Nathan Bedlam. The dragons want that back. These are the general plot points of the story. And if it seems like a lot, it is. This book is only around 250 pages long. It is, I think, one of Richard Knaak's earliest works, and it kind of shows. I first read his stories. He wrote several Dragonlance books in the Dragonlance universe. Most notably, The Legend of Huma, Kaz the Minotaur, and I love those stories. I really did. I thought, he did a good job bringing out, the knights, the honor of the knights, and also the honor of the Minotaurs. They were an evil race, but a lawful evil race. They had rules. They were a conquering race who had a sense of honor. And I really liked his books in the Dragonlance universe. And when I found out they had written these, I didn't realize this was actually what got him his Dragonlance contracts. This actually came out first. But when I first read this, I really liked it a lot. I did go back and reread it before doing this review. How can I describe this? It reminds me of like movies in the MCU universe. Redundant, I said universe and for MCU, but anyway, it reminds me of the MCU because things are thrown at you really, really fast, and then nothing is really explained, or the explanations are quick, and there's a lot of good mystery in here. Like there's references to like there were things that existed before the dragons came. There were people who ruled areas before the dragons. There's a lot of mystery and age that I think is well conveyed, but these stories are just boom, 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 just throwing stuff at you, and things just kind of seem to happen, not necessarily for much of a reason, but because they needed to happen. I mean, things are kind of explained, but it's real kind of haphazard. I mean, the story is well told. It's a decently written story, but it feels like a teenager's wish fulfillment fantasy of a D&D campaign. That said, it is well written. It just has that kind of, I hate to say it, but it has that kind of amateurish feel to it. It's a power fantasy. It's not, there's not a lot of depth. There's not a lot of depth in the characters. Despite of like the well-written stuff about the age of the world, it is missing some depth. But again, it's only 250 pages. I was reading something a long time ago by Stephen King about how he writes and why he likes short stories, why he likes writing short stories. And that when you're writing a short story, you don't have time. You really kind of have to cut away everything that's unnecessary to tell. You've got to set up the characters, set up this situation. You've got to, get the story rolling. You don't have time to dilly-dally. You don't have time to meander off and wander around in your storytelling. You've got to get right into the meat of it. And for a story this short, it kind of does the same thing. It kind of has that same benefit in that, there's not a lot of character building. There's not a lot of time spent on that. It's just, you're just thrust into stuff really quick and things happen really fast. And not always with good explanations or when the explanations are given, they're not really that solid, but you're also not given a lot of time to settle on that. You're just bam into the next thing that's happening. So as much as I did really, I burned through this quickly, and being short, it shouldn't surprise you, but I really had a hard time putting this down. It really was a fun read. I can be critical of it. Like I said, it's not Knaak's best work, but having said that, it's still fun to read. You can't deny it. It's one of those, it's like one of those old, this was written or published in 1989. So yeah, this book is 35 years old, but it's kind of like, a decently written, but at the same time, only barely decently written, fun, kind of campy fantasy novel. Take that for what it is. It's not great, but it's campy and fun, and you gotta give it props for that. There are other books in the Dragon Realms series. I have several of them. They're all about the same length. They're all about the same quality. But if you like that kind of campy, over the top D&D style story, I'd recommend it. It's a fun, easy fantasy read. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got. As always, thanks for watching. As always, this stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.